Welcome. I'm Roger Anderson, Williamson County's mayor, and as we travel around the county, we get the opportunity to spend a little time with Eddie Hood, our road superintendent, in charge of all the unincorporated roads. And boy, what a job you've got.
Yes, it's a challenge. Of course, we have around 729 miles of roadways that we maintain, and they're on different right-of-ways. All of our roads have different right-of-way, but anything within that right-of-way we maintain, cleaning out ditches, replacing pipes, paving roads, so bush hogging. We do a little bit of everything at the highway department.
Eddie, how many people do we have working down at the highway department now?
We have 78 people working, and most summer months we would try to work 8 to 10 part-time people, because summer months is our busy time of the year.
Sure.
And we try to got a good group of guys. Hats off to them. They do a great job. I mean, you just can't beat them.
You know, when we talk about roads, and I think it is important for people that are watching this show and to get the message out, your jurisdiction is the unincorporated side, not inside the city limits of Franklin or Brentwood or Spring Hill, Thompson Station, Nolensville, Fairview. Mm-hmm. None of those roads are your responsibility unless they contract with you to do that work, and then they have to pay for it.
Correct. We have the town of Nolensville, Fairview, and Thompson Station. We had an interlocal agreement with them where it allows us to work for them, and they reimburse us whatever we get our cost in, what they want done. So
bridges
is a big part of our county. We have over 300 bridges in this county, and over the 200 is state aid bridge, which got to be 20 foot in length. And of those bridges, the state inspects their bridges every 2 years, which this now 17 is they inspecting now. And we built on the bridge. Actually, Brown Builders off of Trinity Road, which is off of Arnold Road, started it this past Monday, and this structure is 110 feet in length, and it's going to be closed down probably September, October, because it's a pretty good project. And Brown Builder does a great job too.
So if you're watching this show and you're planning to go out on Trinity,
you're going to have to find a detour.
You're going to have to find another way around it.
That's right. We put out sign about 2 weeks prior to closing the structure, closing the road, and it's on the website too. So, but you still have people that drift by, and you just have to redirect them.
So you mentioned a little bit about our bridges. On the smaller bridges, you've got a crew that they work almost every single day, fixing, repairing, or creating, or taking down an old bridge. But when you get to these larger structures, we just don't have the manpower and the equipment to do it.
We don't, and you got to have cranes, and we got the track open. We don't have the crane. We're just not capable of messing with a structure that large. But like you stated earlier, we build probably 98% of our bridges in this county. We got 4 on our bridge crew, and they do a great job, and they get in there and get after it, and they can turn one around pretty quick.
Are all the roads in Williamson County that you're responsible for paved? And if they're not, why not?
We have probably around 3 miles of road that's unpaved, and about the rest of those are either hot mix roads or an oil and chip road. The 3 miles that's not paved, one of those is by a creek in the western part of the county. You got a creek on one side and a bluff on the other side, and every time it rains, it takes everything out in between. So that would really not be feasible to pave that. And those others, we've been talking to different landowners about acquiring a little right-of-way to widen some of those out, because you need to have, when you pave a road, an oil and chip road, you want to kind of have it safe. You just want to go out there and just pave a 10-foot road. We cannot do that. Our minimum is 18 foot, but hopefully in the next few years we can work things out with the landowner and have them all paved.
Well, and part of the problem with the roads is, just for the public's information, is not just throwing the road together, but you got to have a way for the water to run off. We call them ditches.
You got to have ditches in your road. And that's a lot of roads. That's the reason we clean ditches out just about year round, because you got to have, if water cannot run down, it'll tie up a road, and in wintertime it's bad because it'll freeze and cause potholes. So you got to have a place for the water to run.
Recently in the news, most everyone has read about the governor's improved bill that passed. I mean, it changed a little bit from the very onset of how much they were going to charge it on the diesel and the gasoline, and lots of data and information on it. But how does that act, the improved act, the reduction of the sales tax and the increase on the gasoline and the diesel fuels, pretty much offset? How does that help or hurt Williamson County?
First of all, I want to applaud Governor Haslam and Commissioner Schroer for getting this pushed through. It works. It's a good tool for the county to work with now. It's going to affect us probably, after it's all said and done, around $900 to $1 million a year. What Williamson County is going to get for this improved act, and it's strictly for roads and bridges. That's what it's going to be for. You know, if I want to pave a road, it's got to be a state aid road or a state aid bridge. But it's going to be a great tool. I mean, it's going to, not only for Williamson County but for your other 94 counties. I mean, some of those counties they suffer a little bit, but this is going to help them also.
When I think about you and your predecessor, Charles Meigs, and that's pretty much my modern day time being around the Williamson County Highway Department. I know there were other people prior to Mr. Meigs. We in Williamson County are very fortunate in that the taxing structure allows the highway department to have money in which to operate and have good roads and have good bridges. You kind of alluded to it, but you don't have to drive very far out of our county to see other counties don't have that same opportunity.
Oh, that's true. I mean, you don't have to go far at all to see. Well, you can tell when you come out of one of our roads into existing another county neighbor road, but you know, like you said, Williamson County is blessed. I mean, that's just, they have the funds and they put funds towards the highway department, but it all works out well.
It does work out, and you're able to take a lot of good credit. I know that when we're paving, I guess it'd be a good time to discuss. We have 4 road commissioners.
We do.
And those 4 road commissioners are in a quadrant, kind of like northeast, south, and west. And each one of those men we have are responsible for their jurisdiction to get in their car or travel around with you and check out the road condition, the potholes, and if you're watching this show and you don't know your road commissioner, you need to go online. You need to call the highway department and find out who that is, because you don't have enough eyes to see everything, and we rely on the public very, very much for reporting those things to us.
That's true. More than you realize.
I mean, the areas you're talking about, there's a high degree of trees, limbs, bushes during storms that will blow out across or literally shut down a road. Now, we can get a crew out there just like that, but we got to know about it ahead of time.
That's true, and like I said, the sheriff's department is good about relaying incidents like that to us also. But like I said, the people, and we get calls about every day, especially if you have some windy weather, a storm blows through, that the people will call and let us know you got a tree down across the road or limbs hanging out, and we know that so we can react on it pretty quick.
And I do want to point out, if you've got a tree or a limb that is not on the right of way, then we're still going to take it up, but we're not going to take your tree with it if it's not in the right of way.
No, we'll cut it back, to the edge of the right of way, and then clean out from there to the road.
I remember several years ago, it's been since we had the flood in 2010, we were having to clean out a lot of bushes and brushes, and of course the rivers, the Harpeth River and all the other tributaries that form into that. That's really not your jurisdiction. Now, if we can reach up on the road out there with that bucket truck and kind of drag it over, we may get it.
That's what we've done back talking about referring to the May floods. If people could bring it out to the road, and long as, like you said, we could reach it from the road, we cleaned all that up, and we actually rented, I believe, 4 more chippers besides what we had. It was just, that was
a mess.
Devastating. That's all you say. It was a mess.
Well, and we've had tornadoes come through. I remember distinctly a few years ago towards Pinewood, out towards our Pinewood area out there, a tornado came through and just leveled trees
Sure it is.
all over the roads. And your men went out and we cut them, and they worked tirelessly to get that done. But we can't go on private property and cut your trees for you.
And a lot of times people, they don't really understand that. But most of the time you can talk to them and kind of tell them why we can't do something. They understand after you, but you got to kind of spread the word out a little bit.
It's very simple. It's called taxpayers' money.
That's right. And private property.
And private property. And we try to draw that line. I'm sure in the early days of the late 30s and 40s, lots of things were done different than what we can do today. Everything from putting in culverts and helping people with their driveway. But today we don't do those things.
We can't.
We
can't do that.
I was on one of the roads here recently, and we had a crew out, and particularly this time of year. Now we've just recently had some rain, so you'll begin to see the overbrush and the underbrush pop up, and it's a full-time job just keeping the roads cut back.
It is, and that's a big part. It's cutting the roadway back, just so we can maintain our right of way. You can get the ditches easier if you don't have no work with no tree limbs in your way, but you got to keep the roads cut back. And sometimes you may have a tree that's actually is in somebody's yard, but the limb has done grew out in the roadway, and a school bus is pretty tall, and the school bus calls us right several times throughout the school year about cutting limbs that is in top of the buses. And we go out there, and we have a bucket truck, which is real handy for such as that. And we'll trim them up so the buses can get on them, won't hit the mirrors, and make it safer for them, really. But people really, they don't understand sometimes, but, is the trees in their yard, but the limb is over us, and it's kind of causing an issue. We have to deal with that.
Eddie, shifting gears a little bit and moving on into the future. As we look at our community, that's one of the fastest growing counties in the entire state of Tennessee. And the Highway Board, under your leadership, excuse me, has focused in on 4 main roads to be addressed over the next few years, with money set aside, and then looking out to the year about 2030. Which you'll be, 29, and I'll be 39 again.
29 and hold it.
And hold it. Let's talk a little bit about the long-range plans of our highway department and the complexity, remembering the general public to remember that the only jurisdiction you have is the unincorporated, outside those city limits roads and bridges.
Like you say, we started a study here back in 15, College Engineering did a corridor study, and it included Arnold Road, Clovercroft Road, Sneed Road, and Linwood Way. And of those roads, we kind of zeroed in on Arnold Road because you had the most accidents, because you got Page High School Act in this vicinity where this study was taking place. And you had several accidents, fender benders, maybe someone run off the road. We kind of homed in on Arnold Road, and Collier got involved in it pretty excessively, and that's going to be the first road that we work on. And we had, like Roger said, we had a 2020 plan, which is around $20 million to improve those amount of roadways, what we were discussing earlier. And the 2030 plan was around $125 million to fix. And the 2030 plan is real big. He's 4-laning some roads here that I never would have thought that would ever happen, but people is here, and they keep coming every day. Like Roger said, it's one of the fastest, if not the fastest growing county in the state. And they're coming, so we just got to do what we can do within our boundaries.
And what we can afford, and hopefully over the next 13 to 14 years, we'll be able to do a little of this work, a lot of the work ourselves.
That's right. On the Arnold Road issue, hopefully next month, call you, and then we're going to probably come with a resolution and it's going to be consist of work around 840 and Arno in front of Page High School, as well on the far end of Arno 96, which we're going to have to partner with TDOT on some of this, because some of this is going to be on a TDOT right away, like 96 and 840. But that project you're probably looking around $6 million for those improvements through that in 3 areas we talked about here on Arnold Road, which is a lot of money. But you know, if anyone has been out on Arnold Road and whenever Page High School is letting in or letting out, you know what I'm talking about.
Well, and so much of the conversation is focused on the roads you mentioned. You take Arnold Road, even though Page Middle and Page High School's out there's a lot of traffic, a lot of development going on out there. And we're working with the developers, so they'll help pay for a lot of these road improvements through our planning department,
That's right.
through yours, and we don't just take your taxpayers' money, my taxpayers' money to do it. We make those developers get involved and pay in lieu of sometimes, or actually do the work. I mean, that's fine too with us.
That's right.
But my point was, you take Arnold Road, which is a main cut through between Highway 96, just down below the hospital, and 840 going out to the new community out there called the Grove. A lot of that traffic is just cut through. They don't live
That's
in
right.
the area, but they're coming in from Murfreesboro, they're coming in from Marshall and Murray County, and they're going to work or they're going somewhere, and vice versa, going over to the Cool Springs area. And so we've had people that with the discussion, if you make it wider, won't you just encourage more people to travel all day?
We have had that discussion. We had the Page High School, the Arnold Road issue. We had 2 meetings out at Page High School auditorium, and the last meeting we had was talking a lot about, you know, if you do something, that you're just going to increase traffic. I mean, I don't think so, because traffic is here now, and we just got to find a way to get from point A to B easier than what it is now.
Well, and that in the very opening remarks you and I both made about Arno, it's not our deadliest road, but it has as many accidents on it as any other road we've got in the county.
It had more accidents on Arno than Sneed, Clovercroft, and Linwood put together. And that's the reason we kind of homed in on Arnold Road to start this project first.
And Sneed Road, which is between Highway 100 and Hillsborough Road, mostly people in the Grassland area use that. If my memory serves me correct, I'm careful not to push it too much, but I believe we were having over 10,000 cars a day on that road, maybe more.
It was more than 10,000 back when it was around 13,000 plus what was on Sneed Road back a couple of years ago. So Sneed Road has got a lot of traffic, there's no doubt about that.
And a lot of that traffic is cut through.
That's right, coming from 100 to going toward the mall area, that's people, they're going to find a shorter route, and that's where they're going to go.
And Linwood Way, which is from Hillsborough Road going up over the hill, dumps down onto Franklin Road. We're trying to capture some of the cut-through traffic. That was the last major new road that's been built in this county, and that was 20 plus years ago, and very controversial at the time.
It was very controversial. People said we didn't need it, we had wasted money, but
I don't know what we'd do without it.
Go out there now and sit around and just watch the traffic. It's a lot of cars go through that in a day's time.
And that road is a very difficult road, not to maintain, but I mean, you're going from a flat surface with a pretty steep incline, planing out at the top, which is some of the higher elevations we've got in our county, and surrounded by the scenic beauty of it. But it also has a lot of wild creatures and deers, and we're constantly getting calls about somebody's hit a deer up there.
Right.
And then it drops down onto Franklin Road. On one side's Brentwood, one side's Franklin, we're coming down. It's a very complicated mess because of the way the cities have annexed. Originally, I remember the conversation very well, and you do too, when Charles was building the road, where his point was to stop and the other cities just take it over. And it finally got worked out, but it's not always an easy solution.
It's not. I mean, you know, like you said, the city, whenever they start annexing land, it's confusing to us on the highway side what is theirs and what is ours. And past few years that Greg Bowe works with us, he's our accountant, he'll send out a letter requesting what have they annexed. And, they come back and it's on paper, but I'd rather go out and physically look and see what they have taken. But it's a challenge whenever the city starts hopping and doing all this annexation and coming back out onto a county road. That's a problem sometimes.
Well, and the way the law is written, the cities do have the right to annex. Oftentimes, they don't always want to annex the road because the roads are very costly to maintain, and sometimes, in fact, no city has its own. Well, Franklin has a public works department, but no city has a highway department.
No, so they
that
don't.
Just strictly deals with roads and signages and bridges. They contract that out. In the smaller cities, the ones that smaller in revenue size, I'm speaking, such as Nolensville, Thompson Station, and to some degree Fairview, it's very costly for them to accept the roads. So by law they don't have to,
right.
But it makes our life a lot more have some more headaches when you're driving down half of a road or a piece of a road, and part of it's in the city, part of it's in the county, or part of it's in the state, because all you can work on is the county road.
And that is hard to understand sometimes, especially if they just take half of a road and maybe take 200 feet of half of a road.
Yeah.
And that's hard to dictate what, why not all the way across, but it's been done. But we just have to do the best we can. And talking about paving a while ago, we're fortunate in this county, we do all our own hot mixing.
Yes.
Save a bunch of money year round. I mean, we try to pave between 32 miles of road and plus in a year's time, and we try to equal out to the 4 highway commissioners. Of course, some roads is more travel, you may have to hit them a little quicker, but our roads are like on an 18 to 20 year cycle. That's what they own. Depending on the volume of the traffic. The more volume, the less you're gonna have more wear on the road. So, but that saves the, plus we have our own rock crusher, and that saves the county a bunch of money in a year's time. And it's convenient. If you need a load of rock, you go up there, get it. You don't have to go to Vulcan or wherever. I mean, the rock is laying there waiting for you.
And maybe people don't just really realize how much gravel and rock you still use. We talk about pavement, it's smooth surface, but there's a lot of gravel and rock used by your department every single week and month.
We do. I mean, when we prepping a road, we got to come out. We'll mark it. Brandon Wright or Randy Hickman, two of my foremans up at work, they'll go out and mark a road, and we got to address those roads. We had some in places just wore out. We have to dig them up, and we'll put surge rock in, and then we'll sometimes cap them off a crusher run. And we use a lot of rock. I mean, and that crusher, it's an old crusher. I mean, this was, I think, in the latter 80s when we replaced what we have now, the universal crusher. But we use a lot of rock. I mean, it's surge rock, shot rock. I mean, and then most time we cap them off a crusher run on top. So.
And we're fortunate if you live in the Franklin area around Columbia Avenue, probably a mile on either side. We still do some have to get the rock out of the ground, and so we still quarry rock.
We do.
And fortunately for us or the taxpayers, that there's many years into the future good rock, good that we can still use and without having to buy it.
That's great. We got where we at now. Mr. Meek bought this 40 acres back probably around the early 1990s or whatever, and that's what we're mining in now. And it's still, we got on the top, you got some, Shelby rock, you got more dirt rock combination, but as you get deep, you're getting better limestone. It's still a lot of rock back there to be mined, and of course, I don't think that'd be mined in my lifetime. And once you get all your roads paved, the less mining you have to do.
Sure. Well, and our community is going to continue to grow. We know that, and nothing's on the foreseeable future. But we'll probably need to build a road or two.
I think we're going to have to. it's going to involve, property, of course, and we're going to have to do this. We got to find people better ways to cut across and to get from, one place to the other, and make it simple for them.
Well, and when you think about the 4 roads that we specifically named, you're going to need the quarry, the rock, the gravel when you bring out the widths on those roads. There's no question you've got to, particularly some of those areas, you're going to be doing some serious build-up.
We just completed a road, Flat Creek Road, which is the southernmost road in our county, and the road was 6.3 miles long, and we put on our grader, we put another blade on the bottom of it. We pour them shoulders out, and then we have a shoulder machine. We'll put shoulders back on it. We probably gained 4 foot on Flat Creek Road by doing this. If you had anybody that had ridden Flat Creek but prior to us doing what we did, it's like night and day, what it was and what it is now. We got a road now that's 22 foot plus wide, and it was a state aid road. The state, will give us some money back on that. But from what it was to what it is, I thought it turned out great.
I haven't been out to see it. I heard one of the residents that owns a farm out there came to see me the other day, and he was just clapping and carrying on about how nice the roads are and how easier it is for him and his family to get up and down Flat Creek Road. But you are right. Not everybody knows where that road is. And
it's a good way. Like this is our last road in the county going in the southeastern part of the county.
I'd be amiss. I think we got probably a minute and a half left on the show, and I've got to bring it up. Here we are, and it'll be 80, 90 degrees today, and I always amazed when the fall time rolls around. People want to know, have we bought the salt yet? Have we got the salt yet? And so talk to us the way the salt process works. And you and I don't have any connections above the clouds up there, so we really don't know what the weather's going to do.
And that's something makes it hard about ordering salt. You have to order salt August or September before the winter season sets in. And it's, 2 years ago we used over 4,200 tons of salt. Last year, this past winter season, we may have used 800 tons of salt. So my bins, needless to say, is they are full as they can be right now. And
you probably got to go back and get some more.
I got to go back and get 400 more ton and squeeze it in there somehow or another, but because you got to purchase 80% of what you ordered. So it's going to be full, but and the salt is around $70, $71 a ton, and we go pick it up and we haul it back. We got 2 bins back there, which, like I said, 2 years ago we used over 4,200 ton. It's kind of a hit and miss. You don't really know what you're going to need for the upcoming winter season, but we probably got now, when we pick up that 400 ton, probably close to, I want to say 4,000 tons sitting back there.
We got plenty of salt. We got to go. I just thought we'd bring that up. The weather's at 90 degrees talking about salt, but we'll be prepared. Eddie Hood,
ready to go.
You're a road superintendent and does an outstanding job. Thanks to all the men that work out there and make it a great place to live. I'm Rogers Anderson, Williamson County Mayor. See you around the county next time.